Hey gang, welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. Look what showed up in my driveway. A Yes Welder MIG 205 DS and a welding helmet. Now, I have not used their welders before, but I did have a look at their plasma cutter and I was very happy with that. They asked me to take a look at this welder, see what I thought about it, and I'm going to share that with you. So I'm going to unbox this welder and this helmet and show you what's in the box. Just so you can see, this is what you see when you open up the top. So I'm going to pull this out. Right off the top, that's the gas line. Power cord. And I believe, I haven't looked yet, yep, there's an adapter in the box. So you can take, either do 110 or 220. That's pretty convenient. That's nice. Got a little wire brush. I don't often have to wire brush like MIG stuff, but that's what it is, and I don't know what that's for. I really don't know what that little tip is for on that. Maybe to tap on something and break loose some carbon or something. Slag. I don't know for sure. Turning it to the back. Pretty simple. Looks like a gas inlet. On-off switch. Now, I can tell you this. Personally, I would rather have the on-off switch up front, but for whatever reason, they have it here in the back. You know, it's not my design, but if it works, it works. The reason I like it up front is so I can just flip the switch and go. But it is what it is. Up front here, you have a protective cover for the controls, and I'll have to review these to make sure I know which one does what. Here's the gun. If you were using, you know, like an old stick welder, you'd call it, call it a stinger. But this is a gun is probably more appropriate. That's a pretty big connection right there. Look at that thing. So it's got a cap on it, and that's all your fittings. So you got your wire feed coming in, gas, and I'm sure these are your two electrodes. So that makes sense. Wire, gas, electrodes. Put this cap back on there for the moment. It's always nice to have a clean gun, you know, fresh tip. So have a set of instructions here. Roll of Teflon tape. You can never have enough of that. Inside the package there's also a little rubber O-ring and a drive wheel. Now this says, and I'd have to do some math, 0.8 I guess, and 0.9. So whatever that crosses over to, you know, here we standard type of wire, we use 023, 025, 030. So I'm going to guess that's what that'll drive. Before I go into any more on this setup right here, I'm going to take a look at the side and open this up. Now, I didn't know this was in there, but there is your ground clamp, and there is your stinger, like if you're going to do stick welding. So cool. That takes care of that. Now, inside here you've got a lockdown nut for your wire to attach, you know, put the spool on. It does have, it already has a, see if I can turn that a little better. It does have a drive wheel on it. I didn't know if it would have that because there was one in the package, remember? But it is right there. So that's good. Looks like your standard style of hookup. Spring-loaded tension. Lock that on to your wire. Pretty similar to other welders that I've used in the past. Now, I have some 030 wire right here. So I'm just going to use that. We'll see how hard it is to get this connected. Looks like it's going to feed from the bottom since the springy wire is down there at the bottom. So I need to take this off. Not a lot holding that in the center. Let's see if this helps. Hope it helps. We'll find out. Now I don't even know which, that's one thing I probably need to look at. I didn't think about that. And maybe my angle is not the best here. Come back over here. That spool, I'm thinking that wire that's on there right now, or the roller that's on there, that's probably for 023. So it has two different size grooves in there. Probably could have made this door just a little bit bigger, so you're not having to reach in there like that. But I'm able to get in there. So I'm going to take this wire. I'm going to cut off the end because I always bend it whenever I store it and feed it through here. Well, I took out the little guide and it looks like there's nothing blocking it. It may just be that the wire is catching on the edge there, not going through. So let me just see. There it goes. Okay. One little hurdle. And normally you shouldn't have to do this, and I'm hoping that I never have to do it again, but you know, sometimes you have to figure things out. Let me just let Yes Welder know. There's room for improvement on this. You shouldn't have to fight to get that wire to go in, and then I've got to get it to go into the gun. So alright, there it goes. Close this back down. It's interesting that that's spring loaded. I'm just going to turn it back on. And now I don't know for sure. Maybe I should have checked this as well. I don't know what size tip is on this gun. 030. Alright. Squeeze the trigger, it moves. There it goes. Okay. Well, at least it has the wire all the way fed. Alright, now that I have the wire in the welder, I want to set it up on this little welding cart. Now this is something I picked up from Harbor Freight. I'd used it for another tool, but I'm going to transfer my argon CO2 bottle to this cart. And always put the safety chains on when you're using one of these. That should keep it from falling off. So, set the welder on. And see, again, this is why I would rather have the switch up front, just because it's not going to interfere with the regulator or the controls back here. But that is how it is. The nice thing about these carts is they come with these side carriers, so you can actually set your ground on one side and your gun on the other. Makes it pretty convenient. Now this is where it gets a little more complicated, let's say. You know, you've got your fitting right here coming out of the back of the welder. If you wanted this centered on your cart, it would be very close to hitting your bottle. So you may want to offset that a little bit. What I want to do is connect this line to this fitting. Now, I would say it's pretty safe to assume that this fitting, this is going to bottom out inside, and I can even see there's an O-ring in there. There should be the same setup inside the regulator. Just out of habit, I'm going to put a little bit of Teflon tape on there just to be safe. Now I also just took this off of my other welder, so I'm not worried about purging this. There's nothing in it. In other words, there's no dirt or anything in the line. So the extra hose, you'll just have to kind of figure out how to loop it around, get it in place. Now you could, I guess, maybe buy one that's shorter. You try to take some of the twist out of it. It's wanting to rotate as I go tight. And I'm not going crazy on the torque on that. So, I don't hear any leaks. Before I do any actual welding, I know I've already talked about the controls here, but now that I have gas hooked up to it, I was reading over the instructions a bit more. And I'll turn the switch on. Okay, so you hear the fan running, of course. But I wanted to check the gas. It says there's a button here that you can hit, and it'll, I guess, let you know if you have gas. So that worked. Let me hit it. I'll put it over here. So that's nice. I don't see that on my other welders that I have. Another thing that I discovered that I didn't know, this figure 8 with a line through it, basically looks like 2 rollers. That is actually the manual feed. You don't have to squeeze the trigger on the gun like I did before. You can actually push the button. And if you see it, there it is. You can see the wire coming out. So that's one way to feed the wire out of the gun. Now, go into a little more detail. As I'm looking over the instructions, you've got this button over here, okay? And you see, I don't know if you can see it very well, there's a little green light with a V in front of it, and there's a little green light with an A in front of it, and then another little green light. If I hit that twice, it goes down to that. What that is, near as I can tell, is a thickness for metal. And it gives you this little chart. You start off with, it says welding diameter, and I'm guessing it says millimeters. Recommended welding current, recommended welding voltage. So, again, I'm learning here. If I hit this twice, and I start turning this dial, it changes this number on the left. So I can only assume that means 1 millimeter. And if I come left, that'll continue to go down. It's 4.8. And then it gives you kind of a voltage range on that side. So we deal in the U.S. in a number system differently. We go by gauges, not by millimeter. But I'm sure there's a quick conversion to figure this out. So anyway, you can see as I turn the dial to the right, that number goes up as high as 3.4. This shows a 4.0 in the book. So I don't know if that's the limit or not. It doesn't go any higher than that, and I'm assuming that's the voltage. That is with the 30 thousandths wire, and on MIG, let me make sure I'm on MIG function. MIG CO2. So let's double check that. Okay, so it goes up to 4.4. Comes down to 1.0. So that makes sense. That corresponds better. 4.4 is the max. So what I need to do is probably figure out my millimeter and know how thick a piece of metal I'm going to weld. Again, this is voltage on the right and amperage on the left. And you can change that in this setting too. You don't have to follow that strict guide, I guess. You can probably change it to however you like it. So, still learning. Now before I get started, I want to open up the helmet that they sent me as well. So, get these cut open. Okay. So there's some extra stuff in there. Looks like it comes with extra face shield, a battery, some instructions. Set that aside. And it comes in its own Yes Welder bag. So that's a plus. Nothing else in the box. I think this helmet's called the Gunslinger. Kind of cool looking. Now it appears, I would safely assume, that these shields are already on it, so those can be set aside. I'm going to peel off the plastic. Look on the inside. It's got a adjustable headband. Gonna loosen that up. Pivot those pieces. And then it has some instructions on the inside there, if you can read that. Tells you to remove the plastic. So I'm going to pull it off that inside piece on the side. And what you'll notice, what I've noticed when I first saw this, was it has side panels. Now, I've never seen a helmet with these kind of panels, and I don't know how those interact. I'm not sure. We're going to find out. I'm going to peel off the other inner film, get that out of there, and one on this side. All right, look at that. That's a different perspective. I've never seen one like that. Kind of hard to show you exactly where we're going, but the batteries are up here in the top piece. This also appears to have the which I like, for my sight. There's a little carrier inside of here, which I'm going to assume is for if you wanted to add the interior magnifiers, that you can put those in there. Let me see what. Oh. Okay. Well. So let's look through that, and if I flip the switch from grind to weld, it changes. You can see, so it must be powered on. Probably can't see anything from the outside. I can see the side shield does something. I don't know if you can see it on the camera or not. Kind of hard to get a good angle there. So let me play with this a little bit. Looks like there's a sensitivity knob, which is how quick you want it to react to the light hitting it. There's a delay here and the shade. So it looks like it goes 9 to 13. So you can darken it up however you like. Oh, and there's a setting here. You flip this switch 5 through 9 or 9 through 13 as far as the shading. So yeah, cool. I like it. So I'm going to try to show you this as best I can. Looking through the sides right now, I have it on weld. And if I take that weld, look at that. And it starts to get some light on it, it auto darkens. There it goes. Kind of hard to show you all of it, but it is doing what it's supposed to be doing. There it goes. So that's kind of cool. And in the grind mode, those just stay where they're at. There is no change. Okay, I'm going to experiment. I have a piece of steel here. This is 70 thousandths thick. This is a patch repair for the frame rails on the old Mustangs. So this is just leftover pieces. I'm going to just weld a bead on this just to see what it does. I have the welder set at 40 on the, let me check, 40 on the amperage and 13.4 on the voltage. So let's see what happens. Okay, to me that's not a high enough power setting. That was just a quick little pass. So it kind of sat on top. Kind of, you know, you got some heat penetration going through, but it feels like it just kind of sat on top. Let me turn that heat up some more. This is 50 on the amperage. It looks a little better. And again, these are just on top of the plate. They're not, you know, I'm not welding two pieces together. But again, it's got some good heat going through it. Looks pretty good. Looks better than the first one. And of course, you know, this is some thicker metal. So, with that in mind, what I want to do is just take these two pieces, and these aren't really cleaned up or anything, but I'm going to weld these two together. That's all I want to do, just to see how it turns out. So I just have the vice grip sitting on there as a weight. Again, this is on 70 on the amps. Like butter. That looks pretty good. Let's check the back. Good heat. Good heat. Looks pretty solid. Yeah. That's not going anywhere. Just out of curiosity, I'm going to turn it up a little more, see where it goes. Okay, this is 90 on the amps. Probably more than we need, but we're going to find out. That's hot. That's hot. You can see there, good heat transfer and some penetration all the way through. You can just see it right there. The weld was able to flatten out, turned into a good weld. So it may take a little experimenting when you're doing this to determine what, you know, what speed you need or what amperage you need. This is all at 110, by the way. It's all set on 110 as far as the input voltage. Now, I'm not even going to try this, but apparently the highest number is 166 on the welder. Should I try it? Should I see how quick it burns this piece off? I'm going to try it right over here. This should be scary. 166. Sweet. I knew it was going to go right through it because it's just too much heat for that piece of metal. So that's what I'm saying. You gotta maybe kind of look things up or figure out what kind of amperage you need for the type of metal you're using. Now, I was surprised that, you know, this is on 110 volt, by the way, you know, like I said, 110 input. And this says 166. I don't know how that scale operates, you know, but that's what it says. And on the other side, on the, well, the voltage says 19.4, the amperage says 166. So, but let me tell you, right now, it works. So what I want to do is weld together some sheet metal. This is some thin sheet metal from like a Nissan minivan, just some scrap. So I want to butt weld those two pieces, and then I may try to lap weld to the other piece here. I will point out that the welder, I have it set up with 0.025 wire, and just so you know, you'll have to order the feed roller. The ones that come with it, there's two that come in the kit, 0.8 and 0.9, I guess that's millimeter. One of them has smooth grooves cut in it, and the other one has serrated grooves cut in it to help feed it. So this will run 0.030 and 0.035 wire, but you're going to need the other roller to run 0.025. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I have the sheet metal attached to each other with some clamps. I have the ground attached, and I'm just going to try to weld these together, basically in a real world environment where it's not on the table, because if you're doing sheet metal on a car, it's going to be out in space like this, where this gap is between them. Now that is normally what I do with sheet metal. Yeah, I can't run a full bead. I'm just going to have to do tack welds. And so when I'm putting the car together, that's what I do. And there may be hundreds of these tack welds that hold the car together. Now, the first one I got a little carried away and I burned through. But it's doing what it's intended to do when I'm talking about just tacking this together. It's getting penetration and making these two pieces solid to each other. So anytime I'm doing this, when I'm working on a car and I'm hanging a quarter panel, I take my time and I do this kind of spot welding. I space it out. Usually I try to stretch the distance between spot welds, say to 3 inches or so, and then let everything cool, and then go back in between those, hit more spot welds, let those cool. And so that's doing what I wanted to do, actually. I'm pretty happy with that. So now what I want to do is take this piece and weld it to this piece. I've cleaned off the paint on the back side as well, and I'm just going to clamp this in place. Okay, so now I have the lapping piece of metal on top of the base piece of metal. Got some clamps on here to hold it in place, and I'm just going to do a few little spot welds and see how this goes. Not bad. Get a good look at that. So, a few short welds. That'll work. Hope you can see that okay. Now I got a little carried away on that. It's still pretty impressive. You know, I was putting a good bit of heat on that, and I managed to burn through. So, you know, not unexpected, honestly, because this is really thin sheet metal, and that's pouring a good bit of heat into that area. But it's welded together. Just make a note of that. You know, if you're going to be welding something thin like this, take your time. So there you have it, the MIG 205 DS. A little bit different than the welders that I've used in the past, but it does the job, and more than likely I will continue to use this on other projects. I also like the helmet that was supplied to me. I like the graphics and the function of it. I think it's pretty cool. So if you're interested in one of those, you know, maybe contact Yes Welder and see about getting some of this equipment. But that'll be it for this video. I want to thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing, and until next time, take care of yourselves. See you.